Volume 3, Chapter 9 of The Last Man. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Stephanie Dupal de Martin. The Last Man by Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley. Volume 3, Chapter 9. Now, soft a while, have I arrived so near the end? Yes. It is all over now. A step or two over those new-made graves, and the wearisome way is done. Can I accomplish my task? Can I streak my paper with words capacious of the grand conclusion? Quit thy Cimmerian solitude, bring with thee murky fogs from hell, which may drink up the day. Bring blight and pestiferous exhalations, which, entering the hollow caverns and breathing places of earth, may fill her stony veins with corruption, so that not only herbage may no longer flourish, the trees may rot, and the rivers run with gall, but the everlasting mountains be decomposed, and the mighty deep putrefy, and the genial atmosphere which clips and globe lose all powers of generation and sustenance. Do this, sad visaged power, while I write, while eyes read these pages. And who will read them? Beware, tender offspring of the reborn world. Beware, fair being with human heart, yet untamed by care and human brow, yet unploughed by time. Beware, lest the cheerful current of thy blood be checked, thy golden locks turn grey, thy sweet dimpling smiles be changed to fixed harsh wrinkles. Let not day look on these lines, lest garish day waste, turn pale, and die. Seek a cypress grove, whose moaning boughs will be harmony befitting. Seek some cave, deep embowered in earth's darkened trails, where no light will penetrate, save that which struggles, red and flickering, through a single fissure, staining thy page with grimmest livery of death. There is a painful confusion in my brain, which refuses to delineate distinctly succeeding events. Sometimes the irradiation of my friend's gentle smile comes before me, and methinks its light spans and fills eternity. Then, again, I feel the gasping throes. We quitted Como, and in compliance with Adrian's earnest desire, we took Venice in our way to Rome. There was something to the English peculiarly attractive in the idea of this wave-encircled, island-enthroned city. We went down the Po and the Brenta in a boat, and the days proving intolerably hot, we rested in the bordering palaces during the day, travelling through the night, when darkness made the bordering banks indistinct, and our solitude less remarkable, when the wandering moon lit the waves that divided before our prow, and the night wind filled our sails, and the murmuring stream, waving trees, and swelling canvas, accorded in harmonious strain. Clara, long overcome by excessive grief, had to a great degree cast aside her timid, cold reserve, and received our attentions with grateful tenderness, while Adrian with poetic fervour discoursed of the glorious nations of the dead, of the beauteous earth and the fate of man. She crept near him, drinking in his speech with silent pleasure. We banished from our talk, and as much as possible from our thoughts, the knowledge of our desolation. And it would be incredible to an inhabitant of cities, to one among a busy throng, to what extent we succeeded. It was as a man confined in a dungeon, whose small and grated rift at first renders the doubtful light more sensibly obscure, till, the visual orb having drunken in the beam, and adapted itself to its scantiness, he finds that clear noon inhabits his cell. So we, a simple triad on empty earth, were multiplied to each other till we became all in all. We stood like trees whose roots are loosened by the wind, which support one another, leaning and clinging with increased fervour while the wintry storms howl. Thus we floated down the widening stream of the Po, sleeping when the cicale sang, awake with the stars. We entered the narrow banks of the Brenta, and arrived at the shore of the Laguna at sunrise on the 6th of September. The bright orb slowly rose from behind its cupolas and towers, and shed its penetrating light upon the glassy waters. Wrecks of gondolas, and some few uninjured ones, were strewn on the beach at Fusina. We embarked in one of these for the widowed daughter of Ocean, who, abandoned and fallen, sat forlorn on her propping isles, looking towards the far mountains of Greece. We rowed lightly over the Laguna, and entered Canale Grande. The tide ebbed suddenly from out the broken portals, and violated halls of Venice. Seaweed and sea monsters were left on the blackened marble, while the salt ooze defaced the matchless works of art that adorned the walls, and the seagull flew out from the shattered window. In the midst of this appalling ruin of the monuments of man's power, nature asserted her ascendancy and shone more beauteous from the contrast. The radiant waters hardly trembled, while the rippling waves made many-sided mirrors to the sun. The blue immensity, seen beyond Lido, stretched far unspecked by boat, so tranquil, so lovely, that it seemed to invite us to quit the land strewn with ruins, and to seek refuge from sorrow and fear on its placid extent. We saw the ruins of this hapless city from the height of the tower of San Marco, immediately under us, and turned with sickening hearts to the sea, which, though it be a grave, rears no monument, discloses no ruin. Evening had come apace. The sun set in calm majesty behind the misty summits of the Apennines, and its golden and roseate hues painted the mountains of the opposite shore. "That land," said Adrian, "tinged with the last glories of the day, is Greece." Greece! The sound had a responsive chord in the bosom of Clara. She vehemently reminded us that we had promised to take her once again to Greece, to the tomb of her parents. Why go to Rome? What should we do at Rome? We might take one of the many vessels to be found here, embark in it, and steer right for Albania. I objected the dangers of ocean, and the distance of the mountains we saw from Athens, a distance which, from the savage uncultivation of the country, was almost impassable. Adrian, who was delighted with Clara's proposal, obviated these objections. The season was favourable, the north-west that blew would take us transversely across the gulf, and then we might find, in some abandoned port, a light Greek caique, adapted for such navigation, and run down the coast of the Morea, and passing over the Isthmus of Corinth, without much land travelling or fatigue, find ourselves at Athens. This appeared to me wild talk, but the sea, glowing with 1,000 purple hues, looked so brilliant and safe, my beloved companions were so earnest, so determined, that, when Adrian said, "Well, though it is not exactly what you wish, yet consent, to please me," I could no longer refuse. That evening we selected a vessel whose size just seemed fitted for our enterprise. We bent the sails and put the rigging in order, and reposing that night in one of the city's 1,000 palaces, agreed to embark at sunrise the following morning. When winds that move not its calm surface sweep the azure sea, I love the land no more. The smiles of the serene and tranquil deep tempt my unquiet mind. Thus said Adrian, quoting a translation of Moschus's poem, as in the clear morning light we rode over the laguna past Lido into the open sea. I would have added in continuation, "But when the roar of ocean's grey abyss resounds, and foam gathers upon the sea, and vast waves burst." But my friends declared that such verses were evil augury, so in cheerful mood we left the shallow waters, and, when out at sea, unfurled our sails to catch the favourable breeze. The laughing morning air filled them, while sunlight bathed earth, sky, and ocean. The placid waves divided to receive our keel, and playfully kissed the dark sides of our little skiff, murmuring a welcome. As land receded, still the blue expanse, most waveless, twin sister to the azure empyrean, afforded smooth conduct to our bark. As the air and waters were tranquil and balmy, so were our minds steeped in quiet. In comparison with the unstained deep, funeral earth appeared a grave, its high rocks and stately mountains were but monuments, its trees the plumes of a hearse, the brooks and rivers brackish with tears for departed man. Farewell to desolate towns, to fields with their savage intermixture of corn and weeds, to ever-multiplying relics of our lost species. Ocean, we commit ourselves to thee. Even as the patriarch of old floated above the drowned world, let us be saved, as thus we betake ourselves to thy perennial flood. Adrian sat at the helm, I attended to the rigging, the breeze right aft filled our swelling canvas, and we ran before it over the untroubled deep. The wind died away at noon, its idle breath just permitted us to hold our course. As lazy, fair-weather sailors, careless of the coming hour, we talked gaily of our coasting voyage, of our arrival at Athens. We would make our home of one of the Cyclades, and there in myrtle groves, amidst perpetual spring, fanned by the wholesome sea breezes, we would live long years in beatific union. Was there such a thing as death in the world? The sun passed its zenith, and lingered down the stainless floor of heaven. Lying in the boat, my face turned up to the sky, I thought I saw in its blue-white marbled streaks, so slight, so immaterial, that now I said, "They are there, and now it is a mere imagination." A sudden